Alright, Shalom. Double honors to the apostles of GMS and honest street brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. Now, this is an article that I found on the interweb entitled "What Will Happen First in the Economic Collapse or Martial Law." Right, showing you that the people out here in the world, the Edomites, because this is going to probably be written by some Edomite out there. Even the people of the world are gearing up for what's coming, what we know is coming, what the people within the realm of Israel should know is coming, which is the total and utter destruction of this kingdom, both financially, economically, and physically. Right? Without further ado, I'm gonna read it. This ain't gonna be one where there's gonna be scriptures added to it. This is gonna be I'm just gonna straight read this, and I'll have the link in the bottom of in the description bar. But if anything, if you don't read it, at least let me watch the video, because there's some rather startling things that the person that wrote this, named Dave Hodges, points out. So without further ado, I'm gonna get into it. It says, what will happen first? Will we fall under the sector of martial law? Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Again, I apologize for the lack of sophistication in doing these videos, but the truth must needs be pushed out, and this is the best way I could do it at the moment. It says, what will happen first? Will we fall under the specter of martial law and all the entails, or will we expect an economic collapse prior to martial law? So he's trying to speculate what will happen first, whether we're going to have martial law first or we're going to have economic collapse first. The logistics of it suggest that the economic collapse will happen before the martial law, because once you people, especially you Edomites, lose your assets, you're gonna go crazy, man, and that's why they will have to implement the chip and the martial law. Another way it could happen is the Ebola thing, where they institute the martial law and then the economic crash. It's not explicitly written out, especially to my mind and to my knowledge. Brothers out there might have a better idea as to what will happen first, but that's not the objective of this video. The objective of this video is not to decipher what will happen first, whether it's the martial law or the economic correction. Through the scriptures and through being circumspect about the geopolitics that are occurring out there in the world, you can easily speculate and correctly speculate that an economic collapse and martial law will all take place in the very near future. And the article reads on in the second paragraph. It says, in the present state of affairs, it is very easy to focus on the invasion of America through our southern borders, and the fifth column insurgents make their way into the country in the form of MS-13 as they prepare to wreak havoc on any opposition to the coming takeover. We are also focused on the presence of unscreened immigrants coming into our country, and who are failing to be screened for the very serious health conditions such as Ebola. It is easy to become fixated on things like the NDAA and the unconstitutional permanent detention. We are very focused on the shoot down of MH17 and preparing for war with Russia. And that's very important. That's something I've been going into heavy as of late. You can see the videos that have been recently posted. Right, and you can see that people are really asphyxiated with this Russia-America thing and the Ebola thing. Right, but this individual here focuses on the economic side. And I said I was going to make an economic breakdown, and I might still do that in the future, but this one maybe might be a step in that direction. Right, it says, however, that we should be focusing. However, what we should be focusing on is the economic collapse, which has already begun. And that's important to mention, right? Because really, pretty much once the dollar comes into existence, by way of borrowing that dollar into existence, right, you're already in a state of economic collapse. It just takes more dollars to be in existence, to be in more debt, hence the economic collapse that's been forecasted by this individual. Right now, if I scroll up, get into the next paragraph, it says, before, right, before we can continue with this analysis of what comes first, let's interject some common sense into the analysis. The global elites need a horrific war to rid themselves of the old system and usher in a new system, right? Hence the Russia-America thing being perpetuated by the elites through the media. Out of chaos comes order. That's the motto that the elites run by. This will set into motion the depopulation agenda that will accompany this coming martial law and World War III. We know the geopolitics. We know the globalists seek to maximize profit at every turn. Therefore, one should ask themselves the questions: how can the globalists make the most money as they usher in the new world order? The answer is simple. If they want to realize maximum value for their efforts, they should steal as much money from the American people as possible before collapsing the economy. And what's important to say here, as he refers to the American people and he refers to the globalists, but the globe is not just America, man. That's why we say America is that harlot, it's that whore that sits on the beast. And through the beast that they can maneuver, through America the beast can maneuver, and still I wouldn't say prosperity, because there's no prosperity when Esau's in power, but it's still the world of the resources, the world of its wealth, right? So it says, this paragraph is entitled "Why an Economic Collapse Will Happen First." It says in American, and like I said, I'm not saying what's going to happen. I'm purely reading it and just filtering it out through the scriptures, of which I'm not really, using the scriptures per se, but your brother's gonna go out there, put the precepts to it, and maybe you might make a video as a response to this with the scriptures and so on and so forth. But I just want to read this article here, so it penetrates and hits with that fire, so you can see with that fire. So it says America only has to look at 3 economic indicators to know what they are in, to know that we are in a lot of trouble. The budget deficit is $17 trillion, right? That's 10 times. That's in scientific terms, that's 1 times 10 to the 12, right? It says unfunded, partially or otherwise mandated social programs constitute $22 trillion, right? And it gets into that a little bit later on within the article. It says, and the credit swap derivatives total between 1 quadrillion and 1.5 quadrillion. Right? Those are silly numbers. Those are numbers that you say when you're growing up to your buddies. You say, "Oh, I'm richer than you. I got $1 quadrillion." Right? But that's the amount of debt that America has acquired. Right? And one quadrillion dollars is in scientific terms 1 times 10 to the 15, right? So it's got 1 and 15 zeros after it, whereas a trillion has 1 and 12 zeros out of it. So you can understand the figures that we're dealing with here, right? Those are numbers of biblical proportion. Right? It says based upon these numbers, America has clearly been set to fail, right? And we say it all here at GMS. We say it all the time, man. America's been set up to fail. That's why everything that you do in America is heavily demonic and all of that. But your finances have been set up to collapse, man. Right? Your whole military has been set up so that it goes to this war with Iran. Man. Right from the beginning of time, they've been putting plans together for the depopulation of the earth and total economic and social control. Right? It says, when we look at the Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and all the government programs that we all take for granted, the price tag is a whopping $22 trillion, man. Right? These numbers are going to be exacerbated by the growth and grow exponentially when the bulk of the baby boomers are entering into retirement age. And who's going to have to pay for that? It's going to be you people out there that be working these jobs, man, within America. But you're not going to be able to muscle up 22 trillion because it goes into it and it says it. It's all here. It says, even if we took every single penny that the federal government takes in and devote it to paying off these social programs, it will take 111 years to pay off this debt. And that's just the social progress, man. That's just the social pariahs, man. All right, the social stigmas that come with the so-called American dream, the American nightmare. It says in the United States, credit swap derivative created national debt totals over $1 quadrillion, right? And that's all the national debt. That's talking about the national debt that's created by way of credit swap derivatives. And if my understanding serves me right, credit swap derivatives are when, matter of fact, I'll just go to it here instead of trying to remember it off the top of my head. It says credit default swaps is the financial swap agreement that the seller of the CDS will compensate the buyer, right, the creditor of the reference loan in the event of a loan default, right? And a loan default is when you can't pay off the debt. So when America can't pay off the debt, yeah, they're saying in the United States, credit swap derivatives created national debts of $1 quadrillion, right? It says that is 1,000 trillion dollars, and like I said, that's a one with 15 zeros after it. One with 15 zeros after it, right? It says the entire GDP of the planet is estimated 66 trillion. So just your social social care, for lack of a better statement, right, is already higher than that. Nearly nearly about five times the global 5 times the global GDP, right? Just under 5 times the global GDP, right? That's how much America is indebted just by the social, right? Just the social benefits of living in there. Like the article says, Medicaid and Medicare and so on and so forth, right? It goes on and says, and somehow the infinite wisdom of the Congress in 2008, we falsely and naively believed that a $750 billion transfer of wealth, a bailout in other words, was magically going to save the economy and collectively futures of American middle class. In short, the debt created by future speculations is 16 times greater than the sum of the entire wealth of the planet. Right? And we'll read it again so you can understand. It says, in short, the debt created by the future speculations is approximately 16 times greater than the sum of the entire wealth of the planet. Right? And it says, we think we are going to climb out of this. Right? And it says, we could fund 1,000 bailouts and the eventual outcome will still be the same. Right? Slavery by debt. And the scripture speaks of that. The taker of usury is subject to the person that gives up the debt. Something to that effect, I believe it's in Psalms. Right? It says we could fund 1,000 bailouts, and eventually the eventual outcome will be the same: slavery by debt. We are being held in place while our financial assets are being separated from us from our soon dead corpses. Right, and I'm gonna read on. It says the collective. Now this, I'm not gonna really read that actually. All right, we want to keep this video nice and short and sweet because, you know, it's a lot of numbers in there. Right, this paragraph here, you can read it for yourself. Is talking about how it's basically talking about the young adult workers that are out there, and you know, it's saying like something crazy, like 317,000 waiters and waitresses have college degrees, man. So that college degree and all of that, man, that was also a hoax, because they could loan you out money to go to college and all of that, but they want that money back with interest, and that money goes back to that $22 trillion here for social care and all of that, right? And it also goes into the fact that pretty much goes into the fact that you're not really going into a state of prosperity. You're going into the opposite of that, right? And the natural question after that is, where did the money come? It says, when I was when I was a third grader, right? And I'm not going to read this paragraph as well because he's talking about his history and the fact that his science teacher or his teacher at the time he's alluding the fact that water evaporates, but it goes somewhere. So although it's not in the glass anymore. In a glass full of water, you leave it long enough, all of the water is going to evaporate, but it doesn't just disappear. It has to go somewhere, right? And it says, look at the following chart below, which measures price increases for basic essentials from January 2000 to March 2014. That's a 14-year period. That's not even a decade. Sorry, not a decade. That's not even 25 years. It's not even a quarter of a decade, right? When you look at the barrel of oil right here, right? It says it's from $24 in 2000, right, to $100. It's a 314% increase in price, right? What else is also good here? You got a brand new car, right? It's gonna be about 20,000. Right now it's about 31,500. It's a 52% increase. What else do we have? It says annual healthcare spending per capita was about $4,550. Right now it's a standing total of about 9,300. Right, that's 104.4% increase. Right, a movie ticket, right, was $5.25. Now it's $10.25. That's 95.2% increase, man. So things are getting crazy out here, and it's only gonna go up, man. Right? Even coffee per pound, coffee rather more for per pound. Right? It was $340. Now it's 520. Rather more 520, which is a really a 53% increase. Right, something silly as a postage stamp was 33 cents. Now it's 49 cents, at a 48.5% increase, man. Right, that's a lot of numbers. When you go into this, you understand it, man. Nothing here is as the lowest increase, the lowest percentile increase here on this chart is nearly 40% increase, and that's on CPI, right? I'm not quite sure what CPI is. Right, it's going to be something quite big because it's about 100. It used to be 168. Now it's I might be just being silly right there, but that's something I don't know. But I'll probably I'll check it out in Google after the video is done, and I'll get it. Right, and it says average monthly rent, right, is about a case chiller, right. It used to be $635. Now it's $890. Right, it's a 40.2 increase. Now the point I was making about the percentile increase, the smallest percentile increase here you have, right? Oh, rather more is this is CPI, which is about 39.9%, right? And then he goes on to say, where did the money go, right? Where did the money go? Most people with lack of knowledge, and we know through the scriptures, the fear of the Most High is the beginning of wisdom, man. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So when you get into this word and you fear the Most High, you start trying to, put together pieces of scriptures and all of that. You're gonna be inclined to look at some of these articles, man. And that's when the wisdom starts, right? It says, where did the money go? Most people with their lack of knowledge of economics will look at the charts and answer, inflation eats up our money. What our nation's sheep is never taught is how to answer the question. What really causes inflation? In our schools, we teach that inflation is just a part of painful living. Just like getting colds, nothing could be further from the truth. It is contrived, and its purpose is to control the people through debt slavery. Right, and then he goes on with that soliloquy, right? And I'm gonna jump to this. Is there anything else worth taking out of that paragraph? Sorry, bear with me. Yeah, this bit is quite nice as well, right? It says the first place to look for these price spikes is the Federal Reserve. Between the usury fees and the interest they charge us for the right to use their money. So you get charged to use their money, man. Right? Where you could be trading in gold and silver, right, which is real money, right? They charge you to give you their paper money, and they reserve all the gold and silver, man. Right? How crazy is that? That's how you know this man is the devil, man. Right? It says between the usury fees and the interest they charge for us for the right to use their money, our dollar is actually worth about 94% by the time we receive the dollar. The medium banks of the Federal Reserve pay you less than 1% to house your money, so you get interest, right? And that's how you know they be loaning out that money, all right? And that also goes to prove the fact that they only have to reserve about 10% actual money, right? Actual currency that you had deposited, and 90% of the currency that you deposited gets loaned out. And when that person gets that loan, he puts it into another person's account, right? And that 100%, let's say $100, which then became $90, right? That $90 is then deposited, right? And they only have to keep 10% of that. Now you have 9% real money, right? In there, right? So now you have 19 actual dollars in the account, right? But you actually have about $190, right, in existence, and that's how they further mess you people up, right? But that's another lesson for another day on how bank derivatives create currency and how it deflates the real money that you actually have up there, man. Right? It says the minions of the Bank of the Federal Reserve pay you less than 1% to house your money, the interest you make on your money, right? Then they loan it out, right? All things being equal, you're losing about 5% per year in real buying power, right? This is hidden tax that you pay to the elites, which amounts to about 5% a year, right? It says, as Ms. Strong would say, the money did not just evaporate; it went somewhere, right? Now the next bit, I'll read the next bit because it's quite important. It says, what has chronicled above is what I label an indirect theft, right? Nobody is walking into a bank and stealing the money in these examples. Simply financial practices and economic controls are created to slow and erode wealth and transfer it to the elites. Who are them elites, man? Them elite banking families, the Rothschilds and so on and so forth, man. Right? Them Khazars, man. Them devils, man. Right? Because you're not gonna have this when Israel's in power. Well, you're not gonna have this when the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans take power. I'm gonna rule in righteousness, right? But I say that, man. When you read the book of Revelations, we're gonna return unto you double, man. And we're gonna have some of you heathens in the hardcore. We're gonna have all of you heathens in hardcore slavery, man. Right? And we're gonna be taxing this shit out of you. But you ain't gonna be dealing with virtual currency, man. When you actually acquire some wealth, right, even as a subject as a slave to the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, as prophesied in the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter. But if you do acquire some wealth, it's gonna be real wealth, man. Right? Even if we're taxing you, you're still gonna have some gold and some silver and all of that, man. Right? So you can do your own business amongst your own people. Right? Because we're gonna be ruling in righteousness, and that's what the book says in the first Maccabees, the first chapter, and around about the 21st verse. Right, when Alexander and all of that came into power, all kind of wickedness multiplied. And what root was that? The root of Alexander was them Edomites, man. It was Esau. Right? It says, what I chronicled above is what I label as indirect theft. Nobody's actually walking into the bank and stealing the money in these examples. Simply financial practices and economic controls are created to slowly erode away wealth and transfer it to the elites. However, things are changing, and we're transitioning from indirect theft to a very stark from directly stealing the people's assets by the elites. Right? Now it goes into direct theft and says, I've chronicled in a recent article that JP Morgan and Chase and HSBC are making it almost impossible to wire money out into banks overseas. Right? This at the same time is putting a bullseye on your money, as the plan is to seize as much as possible. They don't want you to be able to money your money. It says over 50% of all stocks and bonds are owned by 1% of the US population. It says, when the stock market crashed in 1929, who lost money? Right, the American people, man. The elites already had their money parked on their sidelines when the crash came. Right, when it did, where did they? It says when the crash came and when it did, where did the money? It says that money went back into the hands of the people who created the Ponzi scheme, right? And it says the same thing is the same thing is about to happen. So you can see it, man. Collapse is already coming to pass, man. Right? And it goes on and on a little bit, but brothers can read it out there. It's a beautiful article, right? I just see if this bit is relevant. Right, yeah, you brothers can read it out there. You know, I try to read as much of it as I can, but I don't want to, bore all of you. It's good that you actually go out there and read some of these things as well, man, not just hear it verbatim sake. So I'm gonna leave the attachment on, but you can see, man, this kingdom's getting ready to be destroyed, man. Prices going sky high, all of that, man. And these elites are taking money from you by way of their witchcraft. By way of their banking system and all of that, man, right? But the Most High is gonna do a good thing when He comes back and destroy this Edomite, man, this crack, man. Right? But with that, we'll sign out and say double honors to the apostles of GMS, honest you brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.